right, welcome into the Questionable Podcast. You got Scotty Questions here with Meko
What's good, man?
and Gionne.
Oh, hi.
Hello. How are you?
Quite well.
Oh, very good.
And yourself?
I am also well. Thank you for asking.
That's good.
Every time John says hi, he sounds like a teenage boy that's been like brought to a whorehouse for the first time and is like introduced to his first prostitute, and he's just like, "Hi, how are you?
Are you well?
Are you well?"
And we are off and running today. Please like, follow, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, please smash that subscribe button on YouTube. Trying to get those subscribers and followers up. Again, also rocking the Motor City Dan Campbell 2022 Lions Tour shirt here. We got new shirts dropping every week for the next 7 weeks. So please check the Instagram, check the website. We'll be posting those as they go live. So for those that have gotten their shirt, thank you for the support. Those that need to get it soon. Limited run here. So you got to get on that. And again, keep your eyes and ears open for the new drops weekly. We're really excited for that. It's something that Meko and John have talked about, and we're finally doing. So we're excited about that. Looking forward to it. Final Hard Knocks just happened too. So we're gonna touch on that, the final Hard Knocks, and we're gonna talk a little Michigan State football, and then we're gonna preview the Lions-Eagles game this Sunday, which I just heard was sold out. Standing room only tickets, I think, were going on sale. So that is awesome. So congrats.
Meko got in early.
Meko will be there. Meko will be there. He will. I was thinking about it. We're going to go next week into the Washington game. I figured this one, I didn't get in early enough on this one. So we're going to break the bank to get there. So,
dude, I'm trying, like, right now I'm juggling whether or not I want to pay for like preferred parking, which is a lot of money, but I also don't want to walk. So, yeah.
I mean, good luck with that debate. I think you kind of have to do it.
Could you have an Uber pick you up in the parking lot and then take you to the door? And then...
I would love that. And I don't know. I don't even want to drive down there, but I have to, obviously. But I just feel like it's gonna be a madhouse.
I think it's gonna be crazy. I really do. Yeah. That was part of my decision as to whether or not we go this weekend. I talked to you, Meko, about it. I was debating. I'm like, I don't know. Ticket prices got high. It was a lot.
I bought my tickets months later than I wanted to. Right? I wanted to buy my tickets. Well, yeah, I bought them months ago, but I wanted to buy them like pre-Hard Knocks, and I think I technically bought them like once training camp started, and I was like, I probably waited too long.
Wow.
So
hot commodity.
Yeah, and I was looking last week, which was way too
late. Yeah.
Oh, there's that. But
yeah, you were way later than I was.
Yeah. Scrambling.
All right. So anyway, having said that, we had the final Hard Knocks. John, is that better? So the final Hard Knocks, just want to dig into that. I thought it was a great episode.
You're finally giving them credit for an episode?
Giving them credit for this episode. Yes, I am. Yeah, we wrapped it up. I do. We briefly talked before this. I do think that I already miss it, right? Like, it's over. Yeah. Now what? Now we get the lines, like the game, though. So I think that I'm excited for that, but I'm also a little nervous now. We're going to see how it plays out. Let's see.
I feel like Hard Knocks like spoils us in the fact that we get so much behind the scenes coverage, and like now we're about to go back to just like the normal stuff. Like, you get the games, you get the press conference, that's it. And I'm already going to miss all the behind the scenes stuff, all the conversations that the coaches have and everything like that. So no, I'm with you. I'm already missing Hard Knocks already.
Same. John, you haven't seen this episode, correct?
Correct. I assume I'm going to miss it.
You will.
I do enjoy it. I mean, I liked the last episode that sucked, according to Scott. So
Well,
maybe I just have lower standards for my media consumption.
I mean,
But
maybe
I
you
doubt
do.
it.
I don't know.
Eh,
You might.
No, I think you'll like this
that's
episode.
another episode.
You'll like this episode because like we all knew, this episode basically dives into like the players that got cut. They don't go through every single player, but we do get to see a couple noticeable faces, a couple of names that everybody would know. And I don't know what like the typical like procedure is for this type of stuff, but like, so my like sample size is obviously very limited, but I can say that I thought Dan and Brad Holmes did an amazing job with like how they let these guys go and the conversations that they had with them. Um, that was easily like one of my favorite parts of this episode, is just like the professionalism, and like you could see how much it hurt these two guys to cut guys that they were very attached to. Dan Skipper is one guy, the offensive tackle, and you could see how much it like broke him up that he was, finding out that he wasn't going to be a part of the 53-man roster. We see Jared Davis get cut, and but at the same time, like you see some of these guys get a little emotional, like Dan Skipper, but then you see other guys that are just like all smiles because they're just happy for the opportunity. So like I thought that was a really cool moment within this episode.
Yeah, Pimpleton, he was all smiles and got it, and look what happened to him. He ended up
Yeah.
on the Giants practice squad, and I thought that was great. They got to show it too. I was wondering if they were going to be able to.
Yeah,
And
I was not expecting that.
no, and Blau, wow, a couple choice words there. That was interesting.
Kind of feel like he's a little bit of a traitor. Like of all the teams you could go to, Minnesota.
Well,
All
it
right,
kind of
I see it.
kind
I
of
see how
sounded
it
like,
is.
yeah, he kind of sounded like an ass too. It's
He
like
sounded he sounded a little bitter, a
little
little.
bit.
Yeah.
John, yeah, I'm curious as to John's opinion of that, but he said the likes of, I'm just happy to be able to be part of the competition, uh, you know, and looking forward to the leadership here and the new group of guys. It's like, did they do something to you in Detroit?
I mean,
That's what you're basing that off of? Maybe
I think
I just have to see
no,
it.
no. What I was gonna say, what I was more so basing it off of was like he had something along the lines of like going to a team that's going to actually give me an opportunity to compete for like another like stage of my career. And it's like, well, dude, this team gave you an opportunity too.
Gave you a lot of
You
opportunity.
pissed it away. Like,
Yeah.
A lot of
like,
opportunity.
Last
like
season
that-
and this season.
Correct.
well, yeah, like
Yeah.
because again, John, you'll see it, but and again, spoilers if whatever. But Tim Boyle was the first person you see get cut. So like,
Oh.
Right.
like David Blau got cut later, like so much later, and it's like I don't know. Maybe it's a little reading into it a little too much, but it was one of those like comments where it was like, nah, I didn't really like that comment.
I don't think anybody in Detroit's going to like that comment. I mean, John, I'm curious to see or to hear what you think about it, but yeah, it came off a little bit dismissive, and I think Dan Campbell said it best, and it just felt like he didn't have a path forward here. And I think that, the fans with the backup quarterback situation, I mean, if I'm Blau, I would leave because of that. Like, I just needed a fresh start. That's what it
Bye.
should have said. Just a
Yeah.
fresh start. That's what I needed. But instead, he made it about like the team, and I don't have the exact quote, and I don't want to quote it. But anyway, that's enough that we've addressed it. But that was weird for
Yeah.
him. But hey, good luck. Good luck, Minnesota, with him. And go ahead,
I was gonna
Meko.
say another one of my favorite moments though. This is probably like my last favorite moment from the episode, even though it was full of so many of them. But the amount of attention we got on Chase Lucas in this episode was amazing. Like Chase Lucas embodies like everything you would want an NFL rookie to be. Asking questions, being attached to the hip. Like you see him basically following Aubrey Pleasant around everywhere, and he has so many questions, and he's like looking for so much positive reinforcement to like what he's doing, and making sure that he's going about things the right way, and making sure that this coaching staff believes in him. And that was like a really cool like sneak peek into a player coach relationship. outside of what we've seen from like, Kelvin Shepherd and Rodrigo, but like to see it with another coach and player was really, really cool.
Yeah, we got a good amount of Aubrey Pleasant in this one, John. You'll like it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we get to know him a little bit in this one, which is cool. And I agree with Meko. The Chase Lucas part was interesting. And, Meko, you've been a Chase fan from day one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Big fan of his. And he made the squad. And I think he'll be a big part of the team in the future of this team. I think that he's got a lot of talent. And Aubrey says, you got the talent. You just got to, he goes, what do I got to do? He's, you got to show it. It's a show league.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And if he knows that, I think he'll be able to do it. And that was cool. I think that I have two favorite parts. My favorite part was Rodrigo. I didn't know Rodrigo was the number 2 selling jersey, by the way.
For the Lions, yeah.
For the Lions, Rodriguez.
They saying who's number 1?
They did not.
Yes, they did.
They did?
Yeah, it's Hutch.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty impressive that the number 1 and 2 top selling are rookies.
Yeah, that's actually something that Dan Campbell and Rod Wood both point out. Like, it kind of tells you a lot about our fan base, and Dan was like, yeah, it kind of gets me jacked up because it makes me think that like they're really buying into what we're building here. So yeah, I think it is very telling.
Selling.
Yeah, I think it's very telling that the top 2 selling jerseys are rookies. Now, obviously, Hard Knocks helps out a little bit with Rodriguez, but yeah.
So Rodriguez.
Sorry, what was your other? Sorry, Scott.
So that was the note, and they talk about that. So, but they follow Rodriguez, and he goes and buys cowboy boots, some jeans, button down, and a cowboy hat. He gets a whole outfit downtown in Mexican town, and that was cool to have that little moment with him. So that's definitely some ideas for us with him and what we're working on, which is cool. So that was fun to kind of wrap up Rodriguez, right? You kind of wrap it up like he made the team and he's getting out, but he goes, this is my game day outfit, I think is what he's doing. So that was cool. He's been in the community. And I think what's also cool is I've seen him on social media, right? We've seen him with Joey and we've seen him with within the community, at least close to us too, the people we know. And maybe we could get him on here, right? That'd be sweet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You should schedule it for when the next time I'm in town so I can challenge him to arm wrestling.
Yes, that would be great. And we will film that. And then
we'll film it.
we'll have the LA Dele arm wrestling competition, and I will have an ER unit standing by.
Like they can reattach. Yeah, they can reattach it at the elbow.
Yes, or the shoulder, whatever he wants to take. I think he'll take. So
yeah,
that, and then the second part, which is, to me, Eminem showed up. So M was there. He did lunch for the team, Mom Spaghetti. He had it for the guys, but you didn't know that's why he was there. He shows up, and when you're looking at Eminem amongst all the NFL players, you're like, man, he's kind of small. Like, I didn't know M was that small.
Yeah.
But it's a bunch of NFL players, but he still looks small. And I thought M was pretty humorous the whole time too. Aubrey Pleasant shakes his hand and then keeps like shaking it, and he's talking, and M goes, how long will you do this? Like, it's like, oh, okay. And then Aubrey's like, my bad, I'm a fan, I'm sorry. So that was cool. He had a couple really funny jokes. He goes, yeah, man, I'm good. I'll just stand on the sidelines. I'll lace them up. I'm ready. I can play any position. So Em was just talking trash, and
I loved his comment about, like, he's like, you remember when you like played football like in the yard with people, and like he's like, and you would throw it like as hard and as far as you could. He's like, and then you get on a football field and you realize like that's just like 10 yards. And I was like, dude, that's real life. Like, every guy thinks he can like really like chuck a 60-yard bomb, and it's like, dude, you'd be lucky to get that 10 yards.
Yeah, that was cool. That was fun, right? I think that was fun, and the whole I did watch the entire Dan Campbell media interview, John. I did watch that and
did his homework. Good. Okay.
Yep. And noted, A+. And I think what Dan's saying and what I saw on this last Hard Knocks is the team, right? The mentality of the team, and that's the strength. Yeah. And I really am excited to see what happens at the end of the Hard Knocks. Spoiler alert, they asked the coaches, what are the 2022 Lions? And AG says they're going to compete every day. And they asked Dan, and it's interesting. He takes a long pause.
I thought he was going to cry.
I did. I think he was kind of holding it back. It was probably
he got
45 seconds.
Yeah, he got very emotional with that question, which was like odd because it wasn't like it doesn't seem like it's a question to get emotional about.
I could see him just in understanding and learning about him through this and the show. Yeah. You kind of get why he gets so deep about it. He waited and waited, and he's like the 2022 Detroit Lions. He goes, I could go a lot of ways with this, but he goes, 2022 Detroit Lions can and will, and then it just cuts to black.
Yeah.
So that's nice. where he went with it. I thought I didn't know, right? Everybody's like, what is he gonna say?
Dude, I was
on these words.
I was waiting for something ridiculous. I was waiting for something that involved like body parts, and
I think he thought about it. I think that he thought long and hard about this. I thought he might say like the 2022 Lions are going to make me proud or make us proud. I thought he might go there. That was my gut. Is like I thought maybe like they're going to make us proud, but he said they can and will. So
he was like, the 2022 Detroit Lions will be the team that can and will. And I thought that was perfect. I thought it was well said because it gives you every bit of a glimpse into what Dan Campbell thinks this team is. The amount of belief that he has in these guys. And like I said, with him getting emotional, I think that's where that came from. Like he's invested so much of himself. He cares so much about this team. He cares so much about these guys. He cares so much about this city that I think the weight of what this season could mean to everybody involved can probably make you a little emotional of just like, we can and we will. Right. And it just has to be that simple.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So that's, I think that's about it for Hard Knocks, right, Meko? I don't think we need to go any further. I mean, there's a lot more.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
We have too much show.
Too much tuna. It's just too much.
Entirely too much
for you kids.
But hopefully people enjoy it.
It ended on a high note, and we are a few days away from the Lions Eagles. We're gonna talk college ball first, though, right?
Yeah, we gotta talk college ball.
It's not normal because Michigan and Michigan State are solid, so that's a good thing.
Hold on, it's a good thing for those of us who still live in the Midwest who actually care about the Midwest and haven't gone Hollywood on the place that they're from. We still care about football over here. Just because you guys have football games in the middle of the night over on the West Coast.
Yeah, I'm now into my coastal elitist snobbery, and
yeah, you are.
No, I was never really a fan because I went to Oakland University. We didn't have a football team. My sister went to U of M, so I'd go visit her. I went to a couple of U of M games, and they were very, very fun. But yeah, so I never had that college game day experience. Maybe had I gone to a place that did, I would feel differently. But as it stands, that wasn't my life. So I'm just kind of.
I never did either. I just love football.
Okay. Oh right.
Yeah. No,
I don't, and that's exactly why I'm doing a sports podcast.
Yeah. No, I can see it.
Oh my god!
But no, we again in an effort to not bore John too much. No, Michigan and Michigan State did kick off their season, right? It's not just the NFL kicking off. College football is here, and it was a lot of fun. I watched a lot of football this weekend.
Big weekend this past
weekend. Yeah, and it's kind of nice to have like football back-to-back days, right? Having it on Saturday, having it on Sunday. In this case, Michigan State played on Friday. And again, it was an up and down game. They have a lot of expectations on them after coming off of a 11-2 season last year, beating Pittsburgh in the Citrus Bowl, I believe it was. Or no, Peach Bowl.
Peach Bowl.
Yeah. And
delicious.
Stop it.
Peaches are delicious.
Over there. Keep going, Meko.
But yeah, they had a lot of expectations. I mean, again, losing Kenneth Walker, right? And it was a whole idea of like, can Michigan State, repeat the offensive success that they had the year prior? Can Mel Tucker continue to keep them at new heights? And I would say after watching their game against Western, the answer is yes. It's not like a resounding yes, but it's a yes in the sense that like they put some good stuff out on the field. Um, Beat Western by 21. They clearly had some early game jitters. Peyton Thorne struggled a little early, just ball placement. The throws were just
He
out of
did.
reach.
He did, but he also dropped some dimes. He
Yes.
did.
And that's why I call it jitters, right? I don't think
Okay.
I don't think he's not good because the throws that he missed, he made a lot last year. So I would really just chalk that up to like first game jitters. Western put on a really good performance. They're a really good team.
Yeah, they did.
Won 8 games last year. So by no means that I think this would be a cakewalk. Like again, as a state fan, like I've seen Michigan State struggle when it comes to playing, you know, Western and Central. They tend to always struggle a little bit. And I don't know if that's because they play them so often or those programs are just on the rise. I don't know what the case may be. But
My opinion, I think Western and Central, they raised their game. I mean, it's like whenever
yeah,
Michigan State wasn't as good as Michigan, they'd always play the heck out of Michigan, even if they weren't at the
yeah.
same level. It's just one of those, Michigan rivalries that they're going to step up to try and win in East Lansing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think as much as sometimes Michigan State feels like a second class citizen in their own state to Michigan, I mean, it's probably even more so when you consider
Sure.
Western, Eastern, and Central. They probably feel like yo, we don't get any shine either. So I say all that to say, like, it was a really good game for State. They have what looks to be a breakout player on the defensive side. Jacoby Weinman had 4 sacks, a forced fumble, 7 tackles altogether.
Yeah.
He was a transfer from UNLV, and dude just looked unblockable against Western. So it's been a while since Michigan State had it. They're going to need that if they want to, kind of get and repeat the success that they had last year. But all in all, like it was a good game. It was good to kind of get that win out of the way, and then they just kind of got to keep their winning ways going forward.
Yeah, Meko. And to add on to that, I think generally, right, big questions for Michigan State were what the defense was going to do this year, right? There was a
Yeah.
big question mark for us last year. We needed
Mhm.
some improvement. And it looked like we got that. I mean, Western Michigan put up a good fight. The quarterback could scramble and run. They had a couple big plays. They put up a good fight. It was close for a while. I really think that Michigan State's defense at the end, the last 5 minutes, turned it up and shut them down.
Yeah.
Really, as best they could. The last 5 minutes, they couldn't do anything. Western Michigan. So that was good on them for that. That was something I took away. And also, Western Michigan, their coverage on our wide receivers was solid, but the wide receivers and tight ends were going up for the ball and coming down with it.
Just
And they
big
were
guys. Yeah.
strong. They could not get pushed off the ball, and that was also good to see. That was just something that I think we carried over from last season. Peyton Thorne, I'll agree with the jitters, right? He's a little shaky, but he
Mhm.
dropped some dimes. He made some good throws, timely throws when he had to. And our running game seemed consistent. Our O-line was
Yeah.
pushing, and
Yep.
our running game, our new running back, they were what's his name? Oh my gosh. But anyway, we got some new talent to replace Kenneth Walker, and it looked good. Again, Western Michigan isn't isn't somebody we're going to beat our chests in regards to beating, but I think it was a good win, mandatory win. We won handedly, so that was good.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's a good start to the season, and it's like Mel Tucker's always saying, you got to keep chopping, and so again, he's clearly setting the tone. It was clearly visible on the defensive side of the football. Offense was very consistent. So no, everything you said was right on the money. And then like you flip the script to Saturday, Michigan plays Colorado State.
Michigan at home.
And I mean, Michigan continues to do what Michigan does best, in my opinion. And hopefully this doesn't come across as like a slight to them or not giving them enough credit. But it's just what I've seen Michigan
But
do
it's
for the
going to.
last. I don't know. People
I'm kidding.
like,
I'm just
yeah.
no.
But like Michigan has continued to do the same thing year after year, which is they dominate lesser talent. If you roll into Ann Arbor and your team is not as good, if there's a clear talent gap, just expect a long afternoon. And that's essentially what it was, right? Michigan just pounded Colorado State into the ground. And it was so much so, like, it was so lopsided. I had to call one of my buddies who is a Michigan fan, like, bro, like, give me some context because from what it looks like to me, this looks like a big school just bullying a smaller school.
That's
Even
what
though
I saw.
Colorado, right? Which even though Colorado State isn't a small school, but it looked like that. And some of his biggest takeaways was like the quarterback battle, right? Michigan is still trying to choose between JJ McCarthy and Cade McNamara on who's going to be their starting quarterback. And his biggest takeaway was like, yo, JJ just looks better. He looks like he makes the offense run a little bit differently and a little bit better than Cade, which is visible. I think anytime you have a quarterback that's a little more mobile, that's easily like the easier route to take of like, yeah, like that's the quarterback that probably should be the starter. Um, but I think if Jim Harbaugh has proven anything, he also has a hard time pulling the trigger on switching quarterbacks unless like he's forced to, which basically means like somebody has to get hurt.
That's fair. That's fair. He does like to do that. I don't know who's going to start week to week.
I mean, yeah, JJ's supposed to get the start this week.
Play even. Remember last year?
Well, yeah, that's what it was last year. And in all honesty, right, I know people want Jim Harbaugh to make the switch and go with JJ. But I'm trying, like I am as a non-Michigan fan, I do kind of struggle with the rationale behind it when Cade got you to like the playoffs last year. Like him starting still got you to beat Ohio State and still got you
right
into the college football playoff. Now you got ran over by Georgia. That's not making fun of you because State got ran over by Alabama when we went too. But I'm just saying, like, I don't think that's necessarily a reason to switch quarterbacks personally.
Well, we'll see what happens, and it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing there. But yeah, I mean they got a lot of returning players. They looked solid. I mean, they ran all over them. They threw all over them. They just
dominated them defensively. Like
yeah.
it was not even funny.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we talk about like how does State replace Kenneth Walker, Michigan seemed to have done fine replacing Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo on their defense. Like they seem to just reshuffle and find a new group of guys that can rush the passer. So,
which is interesting after Harbaugh's like, I'm out. Wait, no, I'm not.
Yeah, it definitely looked like that.
Yeah, well, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, overall, I think 2 good wins for the Michigan teams. So
yeah,
I'm excited about that.
No, it's a good, again, even though I'm a State fan, I can at least say like anytime the Big Ten is doing well or anytime like Michigan teams are doing well, it's good for the state. It's good for the morale around here. So, but because both teams played and because both teams looked so successful, it basically brought me down to this one question, which is, Scotty, because you at least were able to watch some of these games, like which of these two teams do you feel like has the best chance to repeat what they did last season? John, I'll bring you up to speed because, you know, California living over there. But yeah, no, last year Michigan State finished 11-2. Like I said, went over Pittsburgh in the Peach Bowl. Michigan finished 12-2, won the Big Ten, beat Ohio State, and made it to the college football playoff. So between those two schools, Scotty, which one do you think has a better chance of repeating the success that they saw last year?
Pending injuries, right?
Always.
As we always have to acknowledge and address is injuries, which Michigan State already has an injured safety and wide receiver, I believe, from game 1 here. Michigan State.
Linebacker.
Sorry, and safety. Okay. I think Michigan State can repeat what they've done. I think that you gave me a little insight into U of M's schedule, which I was not aware of. So I'm going to take your notes and say, you know, the caveat here is Michigan has a pretty, I don't want to say easy schedule, but it's not like Michigan State's. So
it's not overly difficult. No.
Yeah. So for them to get in a good position set up for the playoff, right? I mean, that's Michigan, I think they're both. I think they're both set up to repeat last year's success. I think they both are capable of it. I think they both can do it. I think it'll depend on injuries, like anything. So I think they both can do it. But I'll let you talk about Michigan's schedule strength or weakness of schedule, if you will.
Well, yeah, because for me, the answer is Michigan. I think Michigan has
Okay.
a slightly better chance of repeating. Now, I think, like you said, like I think they both could technically repeat the success they had last year, but I think Michigan, based off the way their schedule is set up, they don't really play currently. They don't have any other ranked teams on their schedule other than Michigan State and Ohio State. That's it. So, in theory, it should be relatively easy for them to run the table, get near the end of the year, and as long as they can beat Michigan State and beat Ohio State, you're right back there in the playoff. Now, again, those are ifs, right? I mean, they didn't beat Michigan State last year, so that's obviously a toss up. And Ohio State is always a toss up. You did beat Ohio State last year, but there's probably a little bit of payback on their mind.
You don't think Ohio State's going to come back like try to come back on everybody this year? Ohio State's on a mission.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Michigan has the easier road. And the only thing that I think that could potentially, again, mess that up is obviously losses to the two teams that I just mentioned.
Right.
Or because the college football playoff is, voter based a little bit, you could potentially have a situation where people have other teams leapfrog them because Michigan's schedule is not that difficult. And there's always that possibility that another team with a more difficult schedule jumps over them just because, hey, we like what they did better. Your records are similar, but they took the harder road.
I know, but last year, wasn't that a point of contention in which Michigan State,
it's always a point of contention. Yeah,
that's true. Like last year, Michigan getting into the playoff was an issue, I believe, right?
Yeah, a little bit because, I mean, again, they didn't play a ton of difficult teams, but they beat Ohio State and they won the Big Ten.
Right.
So it was harder to deny them. And I think that will continue to be the case. Now, again, the issue will always be, do two SEC teams get in just like they did last year? Alabama and Georgia both got in despite Georgia beating Alabama. So there's always that, concern.
Right.
But I think for this question, I'm gonna have to lean towards Michigan still, that they have a better chance of making.
Does that include the are you including a loss in the bowl game as well with that repeat performance?
Oh, that Michigan loses?
Yeah.
Listen here. And this is not a shot at Michigan. This is not at all. If they have to play Georgia, if they have to play Bama, just chalk it up. Like, don't even.
Well, that's why I was. That's why I was asking. Just because if you're talking about like their easy schedule, and then if they do get in, that seems like a recipe for disaster.
I mean, it is, but I think that's a really good conversation to have, and I would love to have it because I personally feel like for teams that are like ranked in the top 10, you should be trying to play as many other top 25 teams as you can, right? To, if not prove that you belong, to at least prepare your team for the level of competition. And so, again, I'm not trying to say anything bad about Michigan, but I think it's a little odd that they only have currently two ranked teams. And obviously that can all change based off of how many wins other teams get and how many losses. But, and Michigan State doesn't have that many more. We have to play Wisconsin, which Michigan doesn't. Wisconsin is currently ranked, and we have to play Michigan, and we have to play Ohio State. So we have one more than they do, but we're also not the number 4 ranked team in the country right now.
Right. John.
Preposterous.
So, but yeah. Good question though, John. Way to jump in there with the college football. Way to
Gionne.
But let's transition into some things that Gionne is very passionate about and has all of his great takes about. Unfortunately, we have to start on a sour note though, because we unfortunately, while the season for the Lions is quickly coming upon us, they will be out. They will be without one of their offensive linemen.
Yes.
So Gionne, let me know your thoughts once you got the news that Vaitai was going to be out at least the first 4 weeks, and just overall like impression or impact you think this will have on the Lions going forward.
Well, I was slightly relieved because I thought it was past that threshold date where they had to be out the whole season. So that was mild relief that it's only 4 games. But I was pretty, I'm not going to use the word devastated, but I was pretty bummed just because Vaitai's pretty much been fighting the injury bug his whole career. Last season, he started 15 games, the most he's ever started as a Lion. He was the healthiest of our O-linemen all last season. Played more games than anyone else. And so it kind of felt like that injury bug was out of his system. And now here we go again. And couple that with the fact that Taylor Decker in a couple of his pressers has said, one thing that makes this O-line so solid is that he said, I know what Jonah Jackson is going to do before he even does it. I know the way he thinks. I know the way he reads body language. I know how he attacks. So like, I know how he's going to play this player without even, it's just known. So, and it seemed like that whole O-line was like that. And that level of knowledge and cohesion it really seems to be a repeated theme that's what O-lines rely upon, that the really good ones are just a cohesive unit. So granted, if this is going to happen to anyone on the O-line, I hate to be like this, but I'd rather it happen to Vaitai than Sewell or Decker or Ragnow. But I think it's going to be a bit of a bigger deal than a lot of people think. I know we had very solid depth, but the more I started researching this, and this can kind of get into overlap with our Eagles preview, that Eagles D-line is stout. Yeah. And I feel like this now, they're like just bull rush Tommy Kramer every play. Now that there's like a weak link in the chain, it gives them an opportunity to, instead of having to adjust and prod and see where the weakness is throughout the course of the game, and if a weakness emerges, then exploit it. I don't know who their coach is, but if I'm the Eagles coach, I'm saying, dude, just go straight at Tommy Kramer the whole game. Hopefully they're going to account for this, and they're going to have running back blockers, tight end blockers to assist. I don't know how that works, but hopefully there are ways to strategize in this whole next man up philosophy. And I think, our O-line depth, as the preseason showed, is very solid. And this sure as hell beats a wide receiver going down. It sure as hell beats someone in our secondary. So again, you hate to be like that, but if it was to happen to one player in one positional group, I think this is survivable. But it is a bummer just because, they didn't have a single game together last season, and it really seemed like they were there this year. But so I'm of the opinion that it's kind of going to be a bigger deal than I think some fans do.
Yeah. It's Nick Sirianni, head coach of the Eagles.
Also, there we go. I knew his first name was Nick. I did not know how to pronounce his last name. And I didn't want to butcher it. But Scotty, what are your thoughts on Vaitai being out and the impact that'll have on the Lions?
Yeah, I think that it sucks, right? I mean, hoping to have everybody together for the right, like it's what we were talking about for how long. Like, this is amazing.
A lot of things hinging on the offensive line.
Right? It's all about the O-line. They look so great. Oh no.
Do we know what it is? It seemed like such a weird. He was like Justin grabbing Rogers, at his like lower back or whatever, but
Yeah, Justin
Yeah,
Rogers at least pointed that out, that he was at least grasping at his lower back. So
I saw that tweet from the
yeah,
Steelers game where that was the closest thing to an injury that he saw was his back. So that's
yeah,
not good if it's his back. No, I think this is a problem, but I think that we in the coaching staff will just have to address that and work around it. I mean, that's why we got the guys we got. I think it's trial by fire, and we will see. And what a great test week 1 against the Eagles. I mean, they're a playoff team, and then we can get into that in a second. But they're a playoff team, and they are going to test us this week. Per Dan Campbell, he thinks they're going to bring the same thing they brought last year and be like, "Did you learn anything?
Yeah.
did you learn anything, Lions?" And why wouldn't they, right?
yeah.
So I think it's a problem. I don't know how bad it's going to be, and I don't think we really will until Sunday.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Gionne, in that I do think it's slightly a bigger problem than a good amount of fans are letting it on to be. Um, Someone from Pride of Detroit, I want to say it was Ryan Matthews. It may have been someone else from Pride of Detroit, posted Tommy Kramer's PFF grades in the 3 starts that he had last year. First 2 games, not very good. I believe they were somewhere in the 40s. But by like his 3rd start against the Seahawks, I believe it was, he did register a 70. So it's like, okay, he got
Okay.
better. Hopefully what he did in that game will translate into this game, because to your point, yeah, if I'm Nick Sirianni, if I'm Fletcher Cox, if I'm Jordan Davis, if I'm those linebackers, if we're sending pressure, if we're going to try to disguise looks, if we're going to try and trick anybody on that offensive line, it's going to be Tommy Kramer.
Because he's a
Now,
second year, right? This is his second or third year. I remember
it's
him.
somewhere in there, second or
I remember
third.
him being younger than I thought he was.
Yeah. I do know it's somewhere in there because I believe he was an undrafted free agent a couple years ago. But yeah, that would be the guy that you test, and it's going to be very incumbent upon Frank Ragnow, honestly, to help in that situation. If we're talking about who's going to be able to help Tommy Kramer in those situations, it's going to be Frank, right? They're probably going to trust Jonah and Taylor to lock down their sides, to be stout on their sides, and then Frank is going to have to be the guy that, like, hey, if Fletcher Cox,
Yeah.
beelines for, you got it. That's who you have to help to be able to keep Jared upright. So I do think it's slightly a big deal because one of the outside of just like the run game, which is what Vitae has been getting a lot of credit for, we also know the impact that a shaky pocket has on Jared Goff. And so that's going to be something to keep an eye on, because if Jared can't get a clean pocket, then things typically don't go well. And we all know that we need like the very best of JG for the Lions to have a chance at having a successful season.
I think that's actually a really big point, Meko. You're right. You've always said that. I agree. I think we both agree that he
Yeah.
needs a clean pocket and a little bit of time to deliver that ball. So yeah,
Yeah.
oof.
But I don't expect them to start the game. I expect him to start out Dinkin and Duncan. I mean, I think this might be getting into game previews, but
Oh no, I was about to so you're right there. I
think I mean, if I'm Dan Campbell, my strategy is kind of to test in the same way that they're probably going to come right back at us and test, did we learn anything? It really seems the scouting report on the Eagles is mid-range, and that's where Goff feasts. And so I think, and there is absolutely no shortage of weapons in the mid-range between Swift, Hawk, Jamal, St. Brown. I mean, I feel like that's our bread and butter. And the problem last season was everyone knew that was our only option. But now between Chark and Reynolds spreading, taking the top off the defense, hopefully that's a little better. But I mean, it's tough because like they have to know that. I mean, we have to test them at some point, but it's crazy to me that in looking into this, the Eagles secondary. I mean, they have like 3 CB1s basically. Like 3 guys who would be CB1 on any team. And it's just it's preposterous. So like you have to test them at some point.
Team.
Yeah. Like you have to test them at some point to keep them honest and to open up that game. But at the same time, if Goff looks shaky and he's throwing it deep down the field, boy, oh boy.
Yeah. I mean,
it could get really ugly really fast again.
Yeah. No, and to your point, Gionne, like I kind of expect them to start out the game running. I expect them to put a lot of pressure because I think when they do take those deep shots, they're going to want to do it off of play action. And at least in those situations, you can kind of get Jared Goff on the move. So in the event that he's not just straight dropping back and then hoping somebody's open, 15 plus yards down the field, if you can get him on some rollouts, some play action movement and take those shots, then I think the maybe early on is probably when like the best time to take them. And I say that because to the point that you made earlier about or Scotty, that you made about like, hey, the Eagles are probably going to do the same thing that they did last year and see if we learned anything. The scouting report on Jared Goff is still that he prefers to throw it short and mid range. Like at least that's the current scouting report.
Not seen him drop any bombs anytime recently. He has not.
I mean, you saw him do it a little bit last year, but like again, are they going to do it? Like you said, you have very capable corners, right? CB1s across the board. Is there going to be a certain level of bravado, like, oh, they're not going to test us deep? So if you're Dan Campbell, if you're Ben Johnson, I think you at least have to see what it looks like, to see if it's open, if that level of cockiness is there for you to exploit. And if it is, great, take advantage of it and then make them respect it. But I'm a little concerned if they start out the game dinking and dunking, just because I think you allow the Eagles to just be like, oh, okay, well, no, this is just what we're going to do. We're just going to play cover 2 and we're going to, cover everything short.
So now, having said this, my question is, who is calling the plays? Dan or Ben? Or
I think it'll be Ben.
both?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Ben. I think Dan seemed to be having too much fun in that interview. Like it seemed like he was playing coy. And I think Ben's certainly going to start off playing play calling.
Okay.
And I feel like that's just his whole MO, and that's what he's demonstrated with all of his players, that you've gotten to this point, prove it. Yeah. And this is definitely a prove it scenario for Ben Johnson. And I think I think DC's going to let him at least prove himself for at least the first half. If it's not going well, then I think he's going to take it over.
Yeah. I mean, it may be something somewhat similar to what we saw last year, where it's a little bit of a check with me type of thing, where,
Dan's
going to get a little bit of input on certain down and distances of like,
Okay. Go ahead, Meko. I'm sorry.
No, because I just, to that point of that John was just making, I don't know if Dan Campbell will be able to contain his excitement at moments where he's like, yo, let's let it rip.
That's what I was saying. Is like, if he's gonna be like, all right, Ben, I need you to go deep first on play 2. I need you to drop a bomb.
Yeah, I mean, they say all the time, like when it comes to NFL play calling, like a lot of those plays are scripted, right? You know what plays you're trying to call, at least to start the game.
Yeah, the first 5 plays are scripted for sure.
Yeah, so you're at least knowing what you want to get out there and what you're trying to put on, what type of pressure you're trying to put on the defense. So, but yeah, I think to answer your question, I'm gonna go Ben Johnson. Another question I do have for you guys though, as we're trying to do like a preview / prediction type of thing with the Lions and Eagles, who do you guys believe would be the X factors for the Lions? Like, in order for the Lions to have a great deal of success against the Eagles, I'll give you guys like 2 players, right? One offense, one defense.
Only 2?
Offense, defense. You get an offense and a defensive player.
This is so hard.
Yeah.
Need everybody to play amazing.
So I might go. I'm gonna go easy.
Okay.
You need easy to play. He's on the
No,
no.
no, I'm gonna say, as we were just saying, I think both you and Scott were both right. I think Goff. If
Okay.
he has a good game, then I think we stand a chance.
Mhm.
If the guys aren't open, they're not open. But as Meko, as you have said countless times before, um, good quarterbacks elevate the players around them. So if that deep ball isn't there, he's going to find a way to get it to St. Brown. He's going to find a way to get it to Hawkinson. And so I think if he's able to do that, then we stand a chance that we get to keep our defense off the field, give them some rest. So I think Goff on offense. And on defense, I'm going to say, I want to say Aiden Hutchinson, but he's a rookie, and so I'm going to say Charles Harris.
Okay.
I think if we can contain Jalen Hurts, so
Yeah.
it basically boils down to quarterbacks. Like if Goff has a game and we're able to mitigate Jalen Hurts from scooting around us, then I thought that was so funny.
Sounds like you're an 80-year-old. Gotta have him. We can't have him scooting out there. John's turning 80.
I've always been an 80-year-old man, and it's like,
as long as they're not scooting around out there.
But no, so I think if we're able to contain Jalen Hurts, and I feel like I'm not going to put that all on a rookie in his very first NFL game. So
Sure.
Charles Harris on defense, Jared Goff on offense.
Scotty, you still need a minute, or you
I can go. All right. So I agree that Goff has to have a good game, but in my opinion, for that to happen, our running game has to go. So I think Swift has to have a game. He's got to catch passes, and he's got to run, and he's got to make every run count. And it's going to be a tough game for him. But I think that Swift has to have a game. And I think that so that's on the offense. On the defense, I think Anzalone. I think he's got to step up and have a game. I mean, I know he's fast. He's going to have to chase down Hurts.
Good one.
I think he's going to have to have a game. And if he can have a game, that means we're containing Hurts. We're containing Miles Sanders, right? Who's also a very good running back. Let's be real.
Yeah.
He's a very good running back. And so these guys, we're going to have to stop not only Hurts, but their running game. I mean, their running game in general is what they just dug in and said that's what we're going to do last year, and it took them to the playoffs. So I think that so again, on the offense for us, I think the run game opens up everything else. And at that point, if our wide receivers can, if we can get that play action, like Meko said, and we can get Goff rolling out, then, you give the guys more time to break free, like Amon-Ra or anybody, Chark.
Yeah.
The guys one more step on these, like fantastic D for the Eagles. I think that's going to be a big part of it, in my opinion. So those are two to me that really, I think very good. That'll be a very good base if we can do that. I mean, but our entire team needs to play almost perfect to win this game. Like we're going to have one of those games where everyone plays perfect. And one of those mistakes, whatever and whoever it is, that will cost, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, that is basically a mistake in this game on Sunday will result in points. And that's what we need to not have happen. So if we can get through the first half as perfect as possible and keep it close, I think we have a fighting chance at the end of the game when everybody gets tired, right? So when the defenses get tired, and I think that's
a
where
great point.
We'll be able to capitalize at the end of the game, because they will be tired, because, I think the Lions are in good shape. I think the Lions have been hitting more than other teams from the get-go. I do think that hopefully, from what I'm seeing, I'm not there, but the Lions are priding themselves in the grit and the toughness. And if we keep coming at them over and over and over at the end of that fourth quarter, those last six minutes, we'll see which team wants it more, right? I know the Eagles win the playoffs and they know they're good, and that's great. But we have a team that is grinding right now. They are all working hard, doing their own hill runs. I mean, I'm not saying what the Eagles are or are not doing, but I don't know that. I don't know what teams, but it looks like our team is going above and beyond to work hard and make sure that they're fit and ready to go mentally and physically. So hopefully that's something that we can see on Sunday. That's what I think. But
you think our only hope is the old Robert Baratheon, what's the bigger number, 5 or 1? And Cersei says 5, and he goes, no, 1. A single one army fighting under one for one unified purpose, for one king. Yeah. Sorry, I'm back in Game of Thrones mode.
No,
with House of the Dragon. It's back.
There.
It is back.
I might have to get some Game of Thrones drops in here.
So if we can play as one.
Dracarys. I'm just looking at Dracarys. Dracarys drop.
But no, I mean, I hate to sound redundant here, but I mean, Scotty picked the two that I was going to name off, right? And it is DeAndre Swift. No, you're fine, because I agree with you 100%. I do believe that DeAndre Swift has to have a game. He has to have. I mean, he set big goals for himself. Him and Deuce both, and this is the first game to show it, right? This is the first game to take that step to achieving that goal. So you got to be a force. You have to impose your will on this defense, and it's going to be tough, right? We just talked about it. They have a very difficult and physical defensive line. I can't think of who their linebackers are off the top of my head. I'm not saying
Jordan
that they're nobodies.
Davis.
I just Jordan Davis is a
Nakobe
defensive
Dean.
tackle. I was going to say Nakobe Dean. I don't know if he's starting, but Nakobe Dean is a linebacker that they drafted. But I mean, whether it's running or catching, I think DeAndre Swift needs to impose his will on this game, because I do think it'll open up things down the line, right? If you're able to keep hitting them and hitting them and hitting them between the tackles or bouncing it outside or whatever, eventually things start to open up, right? Things start to open up downfield. Things start to open up on the outside with some of your receivers. But I think it's going to begin and end with DeAndre Swift, and hopefully the coaching staff allows him to do that. On the defensive side, Alex Anzalone is the guy that I was really trying to talk myself into Aiden Hutchinson. And it's not that I don't think Aiden needs to have a game, because I think he does, like you were saying, John. He does. But I think because of the impact of a Jalen Hurts and a Miles Sanders, Alex Anzalone being the man in the middle, like, you have to lock that down. You have to be communicating. You have to have your defensive line, adjusting properly. You need to make sure that you're communicating properly with the secondary. It goes beyond just what he does as far as tackles and making plays. Like, you are the mic. You are responsible for making sure that everybody else is on the same page and that everybody is executing at a high level. So a lot of onus goes to him. And I'm putting a little bit of extra on that because we didn't see a lot of him this preseason. Coaches kept him out. And a lot of that was hyped on the fact that, like, hey, Alex has a spot on this team. Alex is going to make this team. So for the coaching staff to have that much belief in him, like, he needs to come out and show it first game of the season. And he needs to be that linebacker that can spy on Jalen Hurts, also plug the middle when the ball's given to Miles Sanders, and to be able to drop back in coverage, to be able to, knock passes away and cover tight ends if he's asked to. So Alex Anzalone has a lot on his plate for this game.
Yeah. Do you want me to list the line, John? Do you want to know?
Brandon Philly Graham, D-line?
Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Josh Sweat, Kaiser White, TJ Edwards.
Yeah, that's a line.
Mm-hmm.
That's a defensive line.
With then Hassan Reddick, James Bradbury, Marcus Epps, CJ Gardner Johnson, and Darius Slay.
Yeah, they have a really stout. Like I said, I don't know. I cannot think of any of their linebackers though off the top of my head. And again, don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but like, I'm looking at them now. Nakobe Dean. Oh, Hassan Reddick's pretty good. But all these other guys never really.
TJ Edwards and Hassan Reddick, Kaiser White.
Yeah. So I mean, again, that kind of.
And the second is Sean Bradley, Nakobe Dean, and Patrick Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, again, I do. I kind of look at Swift and being like, you should be able to take advantage of those linebackers,
Yeah.
whether in the run game or in the pass game.
Well, I think to Deuce's point, if we're saying that Swift could be a top running back in the NFL, you got to be able to take care of anybody, no matter who it
Yeah.
is. You got to make
Yeah.
it happen.
Yeah.
And to your
Well, and
to your point, Mika, to impose his will on this line and keep going and going, I think he's got it in him, right? He's got it in him. It's just can he do it? We'll see on Sunday. It's a great test, right? I think at the end of the day, why not, after everything, as healthy as we're gonna be, let's go up against a playoff team right off the bat, see where we're at.
Yeah, which actually leads, well, before we get to that question, I think
Okay.
let's get predictions out the way. I don't know if we've covered predictions for this game. Scotty, let's start with you. Let's give me your just win or loss. Win or loss for this game. I won't ask you to pick a score because I don't want to pick a score.
Okay, so heart or head?
Yeah, for real.
If you're asking
for
me,
real.
I mean, it's really so head. Head, I'm gonna say the Eagles, and it's gonna be closer than people think. That's what I think. I think it's gonna be a touchdown or less. That's what I mean. I think it'll be a touchdown.
that's the spread. The spread is 4.
I think it's a
Oh,
touchdown or
really?
less.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah. I mean, I think we're gonna be able to, like I said, if we could stick with them, and the game doesn't get out of hand, even then I think we can come back, because then the Eagles will just stop playing, and then we'll come back. But that was like last season. I don't want that. I'd like to see it close all game. But part of me in my gut says this is a game we could shock the world. It's just, I don't know how many narratives, like we win this game and then we lose the next 4 because we're all injured, or something like that. But I think we lose in a very close game. I think a field goal,
Okay.
field goal, most a touchdown. I think we lose. I don't
Okay.
want it.
Well,
part of me wants to go straight underdog. The Lions are going to win, but I just watched all the Hard Knocks. It's the start of the season.
No, you're still a little tipsy off the Kool-Aid. Yeah, I
Little
understand
bit, little bit. Yeah, a little bit. So I think we do lose, but I think it's close.
All right. Let's go to Mr. Kool-Aid drinker himself. Yeah, what are you feeling for this game?
I'm afraid I'm just gonna echo Scott. I think we lose, but I think it's closer than people think. Although considering the spread is only 4, that's what people seem to think. So no, I think it's a one. I think it might be a one. I think it's a 1-score game. We lose. I think if it is a 2-score game, I think I said last week, Meko, you said this, that second score, whether it's a field goal or touchdown, comes maybe late in the 4th to kind of put the game away. So loss. L.
I still throwing $5 on them winning though. The Lions.
Well, I totally expect
it.
You.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna make it a consensus though. I also have the Lions losing a close one. I don't think it's a blowout. I don't think it's anything embarrassing. I just think it's one play that gets away from them, right? Whether it's a turnover, whether it's a late breaking coverage, just something that just like wasn't quite right. And it obviously will be a disappointment to Lions fans. Obviously, so many of us are hyped up. It's going to be sold out. And because Ford Field will be sold out, that's why, like you guys, I'm not ruling out a win, because I think that atmosphere can be just ridiculous when Ford Field is rocking.
Oh yeah, they won't be able to hear themselves. Like the Eagles will not be able to call plays if the fans are into it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it's a weird thing to say. Like, I hate saying things like this because I don't feel like it should have to matter that much. But like, I mean, it feels like one of the few opportunities where the fans can actually make an impact, right? We can control the noise. We can control how disruptive we are from a just a presence standpoint. So, but I mean, if I'm not thinking too much with my heart, right? If I'm not drinking too much Kool-Aid, I just think like the Eagles are a little bit better in a couple areas. I think their receivers are just a little bit better. And I think you're asking a lot from a Jeff Okudah, from an Amani Oruwariye, and from a Tracy Walker and a Deshaun Elliott, like a somewhat rebuilt secondary to go out and cover those guys for 4 quarters perfectly.
I mean,
Not
yeah,
saying it's impossible.
AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert. I mean, those are 3 guys that are going to be hard to cover.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, AJ Brown is a beast.
And again, I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying like there's a lot to contend with the Eagles offense, and it'll be a good test. I mean, at the end of the day, it'll be a good test, which leads into the question that I was mentioning earlier that Scotty was kind of walking into. What do we like? What is going to be the feeling?
They do?
Like,
wait, what? Wait, what?
What if the Lions
they
win?
do?
What if they win? Like, okay, if they win, like, how are you going to be feeling coming out of that game?
Cloud9.
Gionne, let's go with you.
Drunk, hammered, Kool-Aid, like injected straight into my veins.
Hold on, and let me provide a little bit of context before you like. We all said that we think that they would lose close. So I'm flipping it the same way. If they win, it's close. Like it's so no blowouts either way. Like what's the reaction?
Meko, I appreciate that because I was gonna say if we're losing it that close, there's a chance. Hey, let's say a flag. I just don't want to lose it on a flag, right? I don't want to lose it with the refs.
I don't want to lose it on another field goal.
I don't want to lose it on another. Well, but we're saying it's gonna be close. I mean, either we're gonna win or lose on that. That's kind of where we're at. Okay, John's up,
60 though.
I think so. If House of the Dragon, I am like Kool-Aid, I'm gonna get like dragon. I'm melted by Dragon Fire Kool-Aid, like willingly emulated.
You will not be here on Tuesday following the match.
I will have been turned to vapor and ash.
We'll just have a pile of clothes for John. And
no, John's gonna come in with every Dan Campbell take from like last year to now. Remember when he said this? Remember when he said this? Remember when he said this? It all came to fruition again.
No, I think if they lose, it depends on the manner of the loss. Again, if it's a close game, I think we can hold our heads high, and I don't think we can really take anything from it. In fact, I think we can take that. We can hang. They're like, the Eagles are not just a playoff team. They're probably like an NFC championship team. And if we hang with them, then, I mean, we can hang with anyone. And so even a close loss is going to be not a moral victory, but
theoretically the silver lining.
Respectful.
You'll find the silver lining in there somewhere. Yeah.
A win, I think, I mean, I said this a few weeks ago, but like a win, I think, like, we saw how infectious and contagious winning was last season. Towards the end, within 3-3-1, and that was with how many guys out. And side note, I wanted to point out the last time we did play the Eagles, though, the Lions had 22 players out of their 53-man roster injured. So to be fair, 9 on offense, 13 on defense. So I think the Eagles haven't really faced us, and hopefully, if we can sneak one out, it's going to be week 1, because they're like, we rolled over these guys last season, but more than half of the team, less than half of the team, was injured. Half. So, but that said, if we win, I mean, I think we roll over the Commanders. I think the Vikings give us trouble. I mean, I'm not ready to say slam dunk Vikings victory, but I think we. But because the Vikings are one of those teams that could also be a playoff team. So I'm not willing to go there yet. But I do think Commanders, yes, Seahawks, yes, and I think I think we go into the bye 4-1. If we beat the Eagles, we go into the bye 4-1. Yeah.
Scotty. What you feeling? If
We
they win, you will feel what? And if they lose, you will feel what?
if the if they lose, I'm not going to be shocked, right? If they
Okay.
lose, I just hope it's not on a walk-off field goal or like a flag. As long
Ooh, a
as
flag.
I
Oh
hate
my
how we lose on
God.
flags. Like I just don't want it to feel like one of those losses. I want to feel like if we really got it close, that we had a chance, right? And it just didn't end on one of those. I really hope we clean up our flags, penalties.
Sure.
That's something we'll have to see, right? That's been a problem before. So if we lose, I won't be shocked. If it's close and we did our best and we kept it a clean game, I kind of a win for the Lions, right? And everything we've come through in the past, forever as Lions fans, and from last season to this season, I think that's a somewhat of a moral victory in regards to that. As long as we get everybody out of the game healthy too, right?
Yeah.
Our star players don't get injured. That's the other thing. We get through the game clean. Now, if we win and pull this out, I think this starts the narrative of Dan Campbell in what he's doing. I think that if we win and pull out this win, game one against the Eagles, a playoff team, and we beat them. Now, so we're saying we beat them close.
Yeah, still within like whatever the spread is, within 4.
Okay, if we beat them within 4, it's a win. It doesn't matter. We won, and now, to me, the players. How can you not but believe in what everything Dan Campbell and Holmes have built? How do you not believe and hang on every word that this man is saying from here on out? And how do you not go even harder because, wait, that worked? All of this hard work worked. Everything that they've been doing and really like grinding and believing in the grit and all of this hard work, all of this mental exhaustion, that is something that could make the entire season, not just the first 4 or 5 games. That's something they will pull from for the rest of the season, especially it depends on how they win. Let's say we're down and come back and then pull out a win, right? It depends on how it happens too, because I don't think we're going to go up on the Eagles. I mean, if we go up, they come back and they beat us. What if we're down, we come back and we grind it out and we beat them up at the end of the game? Like we said, like, oh my gosh, all this hard work, everything that Dan said was right. That's only going to start create and grow this mythological character that is Dan Campbell as the head coach of the Detroit Lions with Deuce Staley and AG and Aubrey Pleasant and Ben Johnson. These guys and this coaching group of ex-players that have molded these guys into this team that just beat the Eagles. And then the NFL has to take notice at least for 1 week.
Yeah.
It's there are people in the national media saying that the Lions might be for real, like the Lions are sneaky sleeper teams. I mean, they're already saying it because they have to, because if they do win, somebody's got to, because there's a chance
somebody can at least
Vegas has them as 4 points. I mean, that's a field. I mean, you're at that point. It's a field goal. It's that's a 2-point conversion. Those are 4th downs you're getting that Dan's
2
going
safeties.
for.
Yeah, it's a fight, right?
It is.
It's
a punt return that we run back. Think about that special teams, right, John? Where the battle is fought. That's going to be big for us. So I think that a win is going to be blockbuster for us. I mean, really for the season.
Yeah. No, and I think where I fall is pretty in line with both of you. I think if the Lions lose, like I think they will. Again, I hate to like play the moral victory card, the silver lining card, but I do think there will be a silver lining. There will be this somewhat of a moral victory, and you will have a better understanding of what this team is and what this team needs, depending on how they lose this game. Because something's going to be glaring. Something's going to be like, man, if this was just a little bit tighter, if the talent was just a little bit better, maybe in this area, then maybe we win this game. Or like you said, Scotty, maybe it's something like if we don't commit these penalties, we win this game. Like if they lose close,
I don't want to see that.
Right. But if they lose close, the thing that I will take away is that is the thing that lost them the game. Like I will be able to like tangibly see, hopefully, what that is, what it is that lost them. Even like you were saying, Scotty, is it a slow start? Is it the inability to finish? Like if they lose, I will at least be able to see that. And I will be able to say, like, hey, going into Washington, do we see this show up again? Or does Dan Campbell get this cleaned up? Does Dan Campbell and company get this cleaned up before they play Washington?
Clock management.
All of those things,
Oh,
right?
God, I don't want to see that either.
All of those things. If they win, I'm right there with Gionne. Like 4-1. Like just put it in the books because I don't think they lose to Washington. I don't think they lose to Seattle. I don't think they lose to the Patriots. I think they probably do lose to Minnesota just because Justin Jefferson will probably give us nightmares for the foreseeable future. As long as he's in Minnesota, Justin Jefferson will destroy the Lions.
Yeah, probably.
So, but I think it would be the catalyst that kicks off just what Dan Campbell said in Hard Knocks to end it. This is the team that can, and this is the team that will. And them getting a win over the Eagles will be every bit of the belief they need to buy into that, to see that, and to know, like, no, we can go out here and hang with anybody.
And I think Meko, so yeah, to your point, and I just want to add on, if that's okay, like,
yeah,
to buy in, I mean, they got the buy-in, right? They've bought in, but if they get a win like this, it's then the full belief. Like, then it's Bible. Like, okay. Like, it's just, it works. Like, it's full belief, the full trust. Like, you can't, that's something that can never be unbroken at that point. It's that full trust in what he's doing because we just won the game. I mean, like it's something, it'll be a bond that they forged then that will never, that would be one of the moments that could change the Lions right now in a couple years. That's a type of win in a moment like this that could really propel them forward. Now that's if they win. So,
well, I mean, again, like the first few games seem very winnable. They seem very much like the Lions could go in and beat these teams. Again, we know they have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL right now. But winning that first one would set that tempo of like, man, if we can beat the Eagles, who are one of the more difficult teams on our schedule, at least, from what we can see right now, projecting, then who says that we can't go in there and beat Washington? Who says that we can't go out there and steal one from Green Bay? Who says that we can't sweep the Bears?
Right. Oh, I think we're going to sweep the Bears. But yes.
Like, who says we can't go in there and beat Dallas, that we can't go to Dallas and beat Dallas? Mm-hmm. Who says that we can't hang with Buffalo on Thanksgiving? Like, that's what this game can do, can at least instill that level of belief that this team can reach new heights, that every goal that they have set right now, they can achieve. Now, again, these are ifs, right? If they win, they have to win. Right. And even if they win Sunday, they still have to go into practice and they have to prepare for Washington. Like, nothing's guaranteed just because they beat Philly. They don't get to go to the Super Bowl automatically just because they beat Philly. So
that's
I don't
true.
want anybody thinking we're saying that.
Right.
But
I think it does speak to, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But I think it speaks to exactly what Aaron Glenn was talking about. Was it last episode or 2 episodes ago on Hard Knocks when he asked, was it Jonah Jackson went to Ohio State?
Yeah.
When he's like, how many games did you lose that season? He goes, 1. He goes, so every time you laced up your shoes on Saturday, you believed that you were going to win. And he's like, yeah. And I think if we beat Philly, then I think that comes full circle. And every Sunday when those players are lacing up their shoes, they believe in their hearts, we are going to win this game. Or we can, and we will. Right. And it's just like, it really seems like the phrase that keeps coming to mind hearing you guys talk, which I agree with, is winning it's the last piece of the puzzle, because the culture has been changed. They have brought in talent. Yes.
Yeah.
depending on the metric you use, we are the youngest or the second youngest team in the NFL. So it really seems like we're set up for success for years to come. And so Holmes has been doing his job. We've seen in Hard Knocks, Shep, Aubrey Pleasant, Aaron Glenn, Ben John, they're all doing Deuce. They're all doing their job. The players, they're running the hill on their own. They're doing jug machine catches after practice on their own. They're running practices without coaches on their own. They're it all seems like every box is being checked. It's like everything you want to see, you're seeing. The last piece of the puzzle is, as we've said, does that translate to wins? And if it starts translating to wins, boy, that's going to be an unstoppable force, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to believe that the iron could be any hotter right now. Like, this is the time to strike. You know, you have a fairly easy schedule. You're not missing too many key players, you know, at this point right now. Like, you gotta strike fast, and you gotta strike fierce and powerfully, you know, as the season starts. Which leads to our last topic, so we can, you know, hopefully not hold our audience hostage for too long. At the end of the day, if the Lions want to make it to the playoffs, it all starts in the division. They gotta at least plant their flag high on the mountain of the NFC North to even have a chance at making the playoffs. So, Gionne, this was your topic. Kind of lead us off with what you're thinking for the Lions in the NFC North.
Gionne, stop it.
That was now, Scott. That's how you drop. That's how you drop from here on out.
Pro drops
That's how
only.
you drop.
Pro drops only. That's how I drop.
No. So last week, I really wanted to comment on sort of. I'm going to try and keep this brief, which is tough for me. But I want to comment more like on the media narrative, because it really seemed like from the draft until the start of OTAs, the NFC North is wide open. It's wide open, and then all of a sudden we start hearing about how Green Bay has a potentially like top 3 defense, period.
Yeah.
And then we start hearing, Minnesota starts landing as like the number 1 team most likely to like have a big turnaround, because they still have Dalvin Cook. They have Justin Jefferson, tons of talent on the team. And a bunch of like, some people are calling for them to win the division, because while Green Bay's defense, it very well may be top 3. You know, who is Aaron Rodgers going to throw it to? Remains up in the air. So yeah, it just seems weird to me that the NFC North is open. This is the Lions' time to strike, was the narrative for a long time. And then it really recently sort of flipped, that it's like, okay, that was cute, but it's time to get real. And,
Right.
That just really seems to be like the narrative that flipped. What is funny, well, I saw this Twitter thread they released. ESPN did like a potential NFC North breakdown, and it was Packers at the top, and it was like 13 and something, Vikings 11 and something, Lions 9 and 7, and then the Bears 3 and 13. And there were so many salty Bears fans in the thread, and they were getting dunked on so hard. They're like, where do you think these wins are coming from? They're like, what? But that was fun to read. So my comment was more about the media narrative. And lastly, very quickly, I did notice, looking at our schedule, we only play 1 divisional game before November this season.
Yeah.
And that's Minnesota in Minnesota. So 5 of our 6 games come after November, when potentially we will have Jameson Williams in the lineup, potentially when we will have Josh Pascal in the lineup, potentially when we have Levi Onwuzurike, and barring any further injury, Vaitai. So injuries always happen. It's probably going to be a mishmash at any point in the season, but a fully healthy and ready Jameson Williams, I personally think they're going to debut him week 9 versus the Packers. Personal, or week 10 versus the Bears. But that's my little pet theory. But it would be incredible to see a healthy Pascal, healthy Onwuzurike, healthy Jameson Williams. Because if we are around 500, if we're 3-4 heading into November, and then we get all those players back, I think we can string together a really solid back half of the season when we play Panthers, Dolphins, Jets, Chicago twice, and and the Packers at home as the season finale.
It's almost like we get reinforcements halfway through the season.
Yes, exactly.
It's not even like they planned it. It's just kind of how it's happened, right? It's just one of those things in which it just so happens, okay, let's get there. And then we get a couple guys that can really help add some juice to the lineup. I mean, we don't even know what JMO is capable
Oh my
of.
God.
I mean, we do, but we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you keep that guy cooped up for how long he hasn't played. That's probably the longest he's not played football. Guy's going to jump out of his shoes the first time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, at least in me replying to the narrative, I don't know if I ever really believed the narrative that the NFC North was ever wide open.
Okay.
Right. And it goes back to what people are now saying. Aaron Rodgers was still here. And we talked about it so many podcast episodes ago, I think probably like right after the draft or so. Aaron Rodgers will find somebody to catch that football. Like,
Right.
It just doesn't matter. They may lose a couple more games than they probably should, but it's like, what did they lose last year? 3 games?
Yeah.
So what? They maybe lose 5 because it takes him an extra game or two to really get that chemistry with a couple guys. But as long as Aaron Rodgers is still the guy that he has been for like the totality of his career, the NFC North still kind of runs through Green Bay. Now, Minnesota's a coin flip. Minnesota is the bipolar chick in the NFC North, where it's just like you just
The
never
manic pixie
know.
dream girl.
Yeah, like you just never know, right? Like they have stretches where like they're great and they're like, man, that's a playoff team, and then Kirk Cousins happens, and then you're just like, man, they could really need to use a new quarterback.
David
Like,
Blau.
Oh,
Wouldn't
watch
that
Hard
be the
Knocks
most
all.
like that would be the like
Please
same old
enjoy.
Lions of like David Blau comes in and just dominates.
That's
If
not
that happens, listen,
That's not happening. That's not in this reality. It's not happening.
That's true. That's not in this.
that's a
we're not-
multiverse that
That's not
Gionne just
happening in
brought
this
up.
reality. Nope,
That's
I'm
not
not.
happening.
I'm not letting it happen. It's not going to happen.
That's what would happen if Dan Campbell was not head coach. Like if
Yes,
if
correct. Fine. I would.
Yeah.
Martha is still GM.
Now the Vikings
have
have
some
a new
other-
head coach.
Yeah.
The problem I have with the Vikings have a new head coach that's breathing life into Kirk Cousins a little bit, giving him a little freedom. I mean, a little bit. I think they'll start out. I think they'll start out well, and but I do think injuries. The Vikings always have an injury bug. Dalvin Cook always gets hurt, right? I mean, they
Yeah.
always kind of get that injury bug later in the season that really seems to hurt them.
I mean, like I said, as far as going back to my comment about Justin Jefferson, he just feels like he's that problem. It feels like, and I know it's super early in his career, so I know some people are going to jump down my throat about this, but like it feels like Randy Moss all over again, where it was like that was the problem. Like Dante Culpepper was never that great, but like Randy
Right.
Moss was just that amazing.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that way with Justin Jefferson. Again, I think he's going into his 3rd year. So
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe people have figured him out a little bit. I don't know. But until I see it, like that kid's a problem. That kid's a problem in the NFC North. And he's good enough to elevate that team as long as Kirk Cousins can get him the football. And so the Lions they're kind of, look, the Bears are going to suck. And if they don't, color me shocked, but the Bears are going to suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Lions need to take advantage of that. And they need to, again, put up a fight against Minnesota and Green Bay, at least steal a game from each.
Yes.
And
which I think
at
they
least-
can.
Yeah, I think they can too, especially early. But yeah, I think the NFC North kind of shakes out the way people are kind of pegging it to be right now. And again, if I'm wrong and the Lions end up sitting on top, then great. That's the best way to be wrong right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. I mean, and like we've talked about, these games end up being way closer too. You know, I mean,
I mean, yeah, what they lost so many games last year by what was it,
Right.
like 8
It
points or
was
less, or
6 games by 6 points or less, I think.
yeah. So I mean, at a minimum, right? Like repeat that type of effort, but just get the wins,
Yeah.
right? That level of effort plus and then some, and hopefully the infusion of more talent helps them win more of those games.
That's where I was going with it. That same effort with Chark and Hutch and another year with Sewell, like a healthy O
A
line.
healthy Okuda.
But oh my god, dude! If he, I'm not gonna like. Oh my god, he might be my
I-
favorite player on the
Okay,
Lions
all
right
right.
now.
Let's wrap. I'll have one on off the cuff here.
Okay.
All right. Who? Speaking of that, who are you? What Lions player? I'll give you an offense and a defense. I was gonna say one. What Lions player are you rooting for the most on Sunday? Who are you rooting for?
Oh, I'll get mine out the way because it's easy.
Yeah.
For me, it's Swift and Okuda. Easy, Swift and Okuda. I want
Same.
Swift to get that goal, or at
Okay.
least get as close as he can to get that goal. And I want Jeff to prove so many people wrong.
Yeah.
So many people wrong.
Deuce. Put them
John?
both up, Jeff. Put them both up.
John.
I was gonna say those exact same two. Swift because of what you guys said about I think he kind of needs to prove it, and I would love to see him do it. Year 3, he's come back. He looks tougher. Deuce, I mean, just a great. And then Jeff, just for the story. I mean, read that thing about the day he ruptured his Achilles, like, and the MRI came back. His aunt picked him up from the training facility, and she said that he just like wept in the passenger seat and was like punching the dashboard, like screaming, crying, like, I mean, that level, like despair. And I do not use that word lightly. And just to see that, and like the fact that he looks so much better than he ever has, and he looks like that guy who we all hoped we were getting 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It's too good of a story to not want to root for the guy.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
Who you got, Scotty?
So I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna change up a little bit. So I'm rooting for Jared Goff to drop dimes. I'm rooting. I want to see it. I am rooting. I am cheering Goff's name. I want to see, what we really didn't see in preseason. We saw once, but I want to see Jared Goff. I'm rooting for Jared to have a game. I'm rooting for him on the offensive side. I'm also rooting for like DJ Chark. Like I want to see
Nice.
Chark.
Yeah.
Like, that's one too. I was torn between those two, but I really want to see Goff because if he can start slinging it again, if he's got that confidence, that's what I'm rooting for. It's what I want to see. That'd be awesome. On the defensive side, I am rooting for Aiden Hutchinson all day. His first game, real game in Ford Field against the Eagles, trying to get after Jalen Hurts. Like I am rooting for him to go. Like just hopefully he's got like 8 holding penalties against him because they're gonna have to because he's gonna go.
I was gonna say I think he's gonna draw a couple for sure.
A couple. I mean, he's gonna have to. His motor's gonna have to be going all day. So I'm rooting for him and Rodrigo. Rooting for Rodrigo hard. Love Rodrigo.
One more note on the Eagles that we completely glazed over. They are also without an offensive lineman. Andre Dillard is out. I think he's also on this. I think he's also on the same IR list that like Vitai's on. He's out for like at least a couple weeks. I think he has a broken forearm.
Ooh.
So yeah, I mean we're both missing offensive linemen. I think theirs is a little more important because theirs is a tackle. So
yeah.
Ooh.
Oh
snap! Hutchinson Harris. The
brothers.
Lions by 10. I changed. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, are you though?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to be slappy-ish.
Okay, all right, that's okay. We'll do that next Tuesday.
Yeah.
You're all hammered off Kool-Aid.
When we can play the Lions won a game.
Oh my gosh, should we do it?
No. Do not do it. Don't you do it. Don't you dare.
I was gonna do it earlier too. I'm glad I didn't. Just not even asking you guys.
Don't you dare. They gotta earn it. But yeah, man, I think that pretty much does it.
Podcast won a game. All right, I think that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, I want to thank the crew. Please, again, like, follow, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Please hit up questionabletees.com for our new 2022 Dan Campbell Lions tour shirt, Metallica tribute on the back. Also, we got new Hockamania, Dan Campbell, all new 2022 mock-ups of our art, new artwork for the shirts. We got a new design coming out coming out this week. Again, for the next 7 weeks, new design every week. So again, please like, follow, subscribe. And again, thank you guys. Appreciate you. Thank the crew. Want to thank my family, siblings, all the friends, everybody that's been supportive. It's been crazy these days, right? Meko, I don't have to tell you. Gionne, I don't have to tell you. All the support we've gotten. We appreciate everything. So that's it. Meko?
Yeah, same. Got to thank my family. Got to thank my girls who both started middle school and kindergarten today. So
Hey-o.
Super happy for them to kind of kick off this new school year. Huge shout out to my wife because, again, her just being superwoman and taking care of the family, taking care of the girls, taking care of myself. She's a rock star this time of year and all year, honestly. Huge thanks to again everybody that supports us. Like Scotty said, for everybody, if you've bought a shirt, we thank you immensely. If you haven't bought a shirt, there's a link in the description. I will probably throw a link in the comment section as well. Go out and get one. You'll love it. Promise.
Buy
you.
a shirt.
They're comfy.
Just buy one.
Buy a shirt.
But and then again, anybody who again, if you guys follow us, if you guys are commenting or just sharing our content, we appreciate you so much. So yeah.
Gionne?
Yeah, thank you guys. I want to thank my family.
You're welcome. You're welcome, John.
For both. And I want to thank my wife. As always. She's a trooper. She's pregnant and she's had COVID twice and now she got bronchitis.
Oh my god.
And so she just but as we've talked about, hopefully that our daughter is going to have an incredible immune system. She's getting all the antibodies. She's getting all the antibodies. So, but yeah, thanks to all the supporters and yes, thanks.
All right, you guys, we appreciate it. Lions home opener this weekend. I bet a lot of you are going to be there. Meko's going to be there. Meko, have fun. Take some photos.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, we appreciate the support. All right, this is a Questionable Podcast. Out.